No, teacher, I send it to you. Class, yeah.
And okay, Ryan, you may start.
Yes, yes. Causes of World War II. Uh, Causes of World War II, Treaty of Versailles, Great Depression, appeasement, Japanese expansion, and the rise of Hitler and the Nazi Party, and the rise of fascism in Italy.
Fascism in Italy. Nice, great. Can you tell us a little about all of these?
Uh, all of them were the causes of World War II, teacher.
Yeah, what is the meaning of the Treaty of Versailles?
Teacher, I am not sure.
Okay, it was a treaty that has been held, and of course, the treaty was not fair to some countries. Consequently, some people started to feel very, very bad because of this treaty like an agreement, and consequently, it led to the World War II. For the Great Depression, what's the definition of Great Depression, or what do we mean by the Great Depression? Does anyone know the Great Depression?
Teacher, to be depressed.
Okay, to be depressed, that's great, but that's not what we mean by the Great Depression. Anyone? Okay, the Great Depression, guys, it happened because of the world economy was in a very, very bad situation. The world economy suffered from severe crisis, and because of this happened a Great Depression, meaning that the economy of the whole world went down to the ground. It was very bad in the whole world. Several people have lost their jobs, and a lot of people suffered from poverty, and all of this was causes also of the World War II. Appeasement, like an agreement between two parties, Japanese expansion, because the Japanese people were just trying to go ahead and having all the new technology, and this led to the fear by the American people, and also helped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki to hit the Japanese people. The rise of Hitler and the Nazi Party, of course, all of us know Hitler and his Nazi Party. On the other hand, we have fascism in Italy. Fascism is another sort of communism, another sort of dealing with people in a very bad situation. Okay, Ryan, you can continue.
Treaty of Versailles is a peace treaty that brought World War II to an end. Germany had to pay millions of reparations for the Allies' war guilt clause. Germany to accept blame over World War One. German terrorist territories were given to other countries, decreasing in military size.
So that's the Treaty of Versailles, which is because, of course, the German people, led by Hitler, they helped in spreading World War II and just killing millions of people. So they had to pay millions of reparations for the Allies. Okay, millions of people in order to just make something right for what they have lost. Of course, the war guilt causes, of course, the German accepted the blame for also World War First. And the German territories that Hitler has already occupied once shall be given to other countries, and decreasing in the military size. There is no need for you to have such an army because sometime you may attack another country. Appeasement.
Appeasement is the act of giving in to an enemy's demands in hopes of avoiding further conflict. France and England refused to help with Austria and Czechoslovakia. Believed Hitler
Okay.
believed Hitler would stop once Germans were reunited, afraid of another world war.
Okay, that's great. So appeasement is the act of giving in to an enemy's demands in hope that avoiding future conflicts. We don't need any future conflicts. Consequently, I'll just give you whatever you want. The Great Depression.
The Great Depression was the worst economic downturn in the history of the industrialized world, 1929 to 1939. After World War I, many economies were unstable. The 1929 stock market crash in the US resulting the Great Depression worldwide.
So the Great Depression is the worst economy downturn in the history of the industrialized world. It lasted 10 years from 1929 to 1939. Thank you very, very, very much, Ryan. Very concise and very good one. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome, teacher. Now I have 7 in the project.
Yeah, 7 out of 7.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
You are very, very welcome. All right. Did anyone else make his project? Remember, guys, project
Yes, me.
will be delivered this week maximum. Yes, Abdurrahman?
I open it or I send it to you.
Okay, open it, Abdurrahman. No problem.
Okay. 1 minute, I will open it.
Do you have a problem sharing the screen, Abdurrahman?
No, but I will open the PowerPoint first, then I will share.
Okay. Okay, guys, until Abdurrahman opens his project, please open page 283. 283. Speaking of North Africa and the ancient world.
Teacher, I share my screen.
Okay. Loading. The art and the Muslim civilization. Okay, Abdurrahman.
The art, literature, and architecture in the Muslim civilization. The art in the Muslim civilization. Islamic art covers a wide variety of media, including calligraphy, illustrated manuscripts, textiles, ceramics, metalwork, and glass, and refers to the art of Muslim countries in the Near East, Islamic Spain, and Northern Africa, though by no means always Muslim artists or craftsmen. Islamic decorative arts were highly valued imports to Europe through the Middle Ages, largely because of unsuspected accidents of survival. The majority of surviving examples are those that were in the possession of the church. In the early period, textiles were especially important, used for church vestments, shrouds, hangings, and clothing for the elite. Islamic pottery of everyday quality was still preferred to European wares because decoration was mostly ornamental or small hunting scenes and the like, and inscriptions were not understood. Islamic objects did not offend Christian sensibilities. The literature and the Muslim civilization. Uh, Islamic literature is literature written by Muslim people influenced by an Islamic cultural perspective or literature that portrays Islam. It can be written in any language and portray any country or region. It includes many literary forms, including adabs, a non-fiction form of Islamic advice literature, and various fictional literary genres. The best known fiction from the Islamic world is the Book of 1001 Nights, Arabian Nights, a compilation of many earlier folk tales set in a frame story of being told serially by the Persian queen Shahrazad. The compilation took form in the 10th century and reached its final form by the 14th century. The number and type of tales have varied from one manuscript to another. The architecture in the Muslim civilization. In the architecture of the Muslim world, courtyards are found in the secular and religious structures. Residences and other secular buildings typically contain a central private courtyard or walled garden. This was also called the Wasat Dar, middle of the house in Arabic. Islamic architecture comprises the architectural styles of buildings associated with Islam. It encompasses both secular and religious styles from the early history of Islam to the present day. Islamic architecture developed to fulfill Islamic religious ideals. For example, the minar was designed to assist the muezzin in making his voice heard throughout a specific area. Many of the buildings which are mentioned in this article are listed as World Heritage Sites. Teacher Ramdan.
That's a great information, man. Thank you very much for presenting that. Okay, that's another 7. Okay, guys, anyone else have made his project? Remember, guys, this is the last week for presenting your project, so please make a hurry and do it by this week. So please open your books, page 283. Alright, grade 9. We have already spoken about the continent of Africa, and we have mentioned some of the geography of that continent. Later, we have spoken about the migration of the people and also the ideas. And after speaking about that, last time we have spoken about Egypt and Nubia and about both civilizations. Later, from that area right now, we will speak about North Africa and the ancient world. So, what do we know about North Africa and the ancient world? If we went here to the maps, that's Africa in front of us, containing many countries like Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco. Okay, so that's our continent, which we are speaking about today. Northern Africa. What do we know about Northern Africa and the ancient world or the ancient civilizations? Come on, what do you know about this continent in the ancient world? This part here of that continent. Do you know anything? If you don't know, just say no or type no.
No.
Okay. So for Northern Africa, of course, come closer here to see the names. Unfortunately, not all of Northern Africa was gifted like Egypt. For the ancient world, we only had the Egyptian people. They were the most magnificent civilization that arose in that continent, perhaps in the whole world. Of course, the civilization stretched very, very far and wide, and they were very advanced civilization, apart from being so magnificent, of course. For most of the Northern African people, they were Amazighi barbarian people. Amazighi barbarian people. So those people just lived on herding some animals, living in tribe, moving from one place to another. They did not know a very well known or common civilization like their neighboring civilization, the Egyptian one. And from that, they started to thrive and started to become more advanced once they come counter other civilization like that of the Egyptian and also the Mesopotamian civilization. So to speak about North Africa and the ancient world, we will see out that early African civilization had strong ties to the Mediterranean world. Trade linked Egypt with Greece and also Mesopotamia. Later, Egypt was ruled in turn by the Greeks themselves and also the Romans. These powers also knew the rich civilization that lay south of Egypt and valued Nubia exports. Over time, however, Nubia lost touch with the Mediterranean world. So, as we have just said, not all of Northern Africa was gifted like Egypt. Only the Egyptian civilization thrived at the ancient times. And of course, as we have countered before, Egypt has already had closer connects and ties and even trade with number one, the Mesopotamian civilization, then the Greek civilization, and even later they started to deal with the Indian and the Chinese by the Silk Road. So the Egyptian people have come counter many civilizations and they started to trade with them. And along with Egypt came the Nubian civilization. But later the Nubian civilization started to draw back and had no close ties with the Mediterranean civilization of that of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Greece. Phoenician and the Carthage. We have already studied the Phoenician civilization. It was in Egypt or in Greek or in Mesopotamia. Where exactly was it? The Phoenician civilization. Where was the Phoenician civilization? Come on, guys. Ryan, Abdurrahman.
Phoenician, the Mesopotamian civilization.
It was in the Mesopotamian civilization, probably. So the Phoenician civilization and the Carthage. Can you read Abdurrahman, please?
Okay. As Nubia thrived along the Nile, Carthage began to rise as great North African power. Founded by Phoenician traders as a port on the Mediterranean coast, Carthage came to dominate trade in the western Mediterranean. From 800 BC to 146 BC, Carthage forged an empire that stretched from present-day Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco to southern Spain and beyond. As Rome expanded, territorial and trade rivalries erupted between the two powers. After a series of fierce wars, Rome eventually defeated Carthage and totally destroyed the capital city.
That's great. So we're speaking about other civilization or another civilization that arose in northern Africa. Carthage or Carthaga in Arabic. This stretched here in northern Africa from Morocco, Algeria, and parts of Tunisia. And it even became flourished more and more in the Islamic civilization. But before that, the Roman Empire came from Europe and they started to take control of the Carthage civilization. So, in northern Africa, along with the Egyptian civilization, we had another civilization that started to arise in Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia called the Carthage civilization. They had taken parts of these areas along with some parts of southern Spain, northern Africa, and southern Spain until the Roman civilization started to take control of that civilization. And of course, during the Islamic civilization, they started to stretch more and more by Tariq ibn Ziyad under the leading of Amr ibn As. So once again, as Nubia thrived along the Nile, Carthage began to rise as a great in northern Africa along with the Egyptian civilization, founded by the Phoenician traders as a port on the Mediterranean coast. Very, very important point. So the Carthage civilization, it was founded by the Phoenician themselves, because the Phoenician, we said that they traded with many people and many civilizations. So the Phoenician came from Mesopotamia, crossed Egypt, and went to northern Africa, and they founded the Carthage here. And after founding Carthage, they made it like a port for their transportation of goods and merchandise. Carthage came to dominate trade in the western Mesopotamia from our Mediterranean Sea from 800 BC until 146. Carthage forged an empire that stretched from present-day Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco to even southern of Spain and beyond. So all of these parts here in front of you, Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco, and parts of southern Spain. All of that was under the Carthage civilization. But unfortunately, Rome came and they started to take control of the area. What about Rome takes control of northern Africa? Of course, the Roman people, they came after the Greek civilization and they were very, very strong civilization and they stretched in many, many places. But unfortunately, they just took control of the cities in order to take their wealth. Abdullah al-Furayan. Abdullah.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, can you read, please?
Rome controlled North Africa.
Yes.
It expanded its rule over much of North Africa from the coast to the Sahara and into Egypt. There the Romans built roads, dams, aqueducts, and cities. They developed North African farmland to harvest bumper crops of grain, fruit, and other foods from North Africa. They imported lions and other fierce animals to Rome to do battle with gladiators. North Africa also provided soldiers for the Roman army, including Spectrumen servers, who would later become a Roman emperor.
All right. So to speak about Rome controls northern Africa. Of course, the Roman civilization, it was a very, very strong civilization in military. They started to dominate country by country, and they started to expand their own territories until they ruled over much of northern Africa. One of the most good things that the Roman people did was building roads, building and constructing roads. There is even a proverb in English that all roads leads to Rome. All roads lead to Rome. And again, all roads lead to Rome, because the Roman Empire stretched very, very, very fast in its own territories, and they took control of many civilizations and many people. So any country, they will just counter and take control of it. They will start to build a road in order to connect that country to Rome. And of course, this was because of trade and merchandise. Any country they will invade, just try to get the goods and the raw materials from that country in order to be sent back to Rome. So they had to construct the roads. So that was a good point for the Roman people. Later, after they started to expand, they started to take rule over much of northern Africa, from coast to the Sahara and also into Egypt. There, the Romans started to build roads. Very important good point about the Roman people: dams, aqueducts, and also cities. All of that to help the Roman people, not to help the people they invaded. Okay, so all the things that the Roman did was only to help the Roman people. They developed North Africa, farmlands to harvest timber crops of grain. So they only took control of agriculture in North Africa so that they will take the raw materials from harvest to Rome, fruit and also other foods. From North Africa, they imported lions and other fierce animals to Rome to do battle with gladiators. Of course, there was that such ceremony. Like there was a building called Coliseum. Coliseum. Have you heard about it? Have you heard about the Coliseum?
Felician?
Coliseum.
No.
Teacher, is it in Rome, teacher?
Yes.
Yes, I know it.
Yeah. What do you know about it?
I think they used to do something in like horse or something. I don't remember it, but I know it.
All right. The Coliseum. It was just like a huge building or a theater that was only made to do some battle and some fights. Let's see some photos about it. So the Colosseum was that huge building. Inside that building, gladiators means fighters. They fought among each other until death. So just imagine the Colosseum. It had okay places. Um, of course, sometimes it was covered, sometimes it was opened, and while being like that, they started to get some animals like lions and leopards and very wild animals, and they will just let the animals fight along with the gladiators. Gladiators are the fighters, okay? Or two gladiators are fighting until death. And of course, the Roman Emperor will be holding that event, and most of the Roman people will be here, and it's an act of just entertaining the people. Although that it's very, very bad, yet still it was practiced very well, and the people really loved it. So for Roman people, they started to import lions and other fierce animals to Rome in order to battle with the gladiators in the Colosseum. In northern Africa also provides soldiers for the Roman army, including Spitium Severus, who later became a Roman emperor. Under Roman rule, of course, Christianity spread to the cities of North Africa. In fact, Augustine, the most influential Christian thinker, Augustine is the most influential Christian thinker of the late Roman Empire, was born in present-day Algeria from 395 AD till 430 AD. And actually, Augustine is really, really acknowledged by our brothers Christians, and they respect him because he's the greatest Christian thinker. And of course, Augustine himself was a bishop of Hippo, a city located near ruins of ancient Carthage. A bishop, like a man of religion. he preaches the people for Christianity and just being so peaceful, yet he is considered to be the most important Christian thinker. And later, of course, to speak about Islam and how Islam started to spread. Ryan? Ryan?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, Ryan, can you read, please?
Okay. From Islam spread.
Yes.
Okay. Islam spreads in the 690s. Muslim Arabs conquered and occupied the cities of North Africa. By the early 700s, they had successfully conquered the Berbers, a largely nomadic North African people. Islam also spread peacefully as over time Muslim traders from North Africa carried Islam into West Africa. Muslim civilization blossomed in cities such as Cairo, Fez, and Marrakesh, which became famous for their mosques and universities.
So we're speaking about the year 690 when the Arab people from the Arabian Peninsula started to go further into Africa. First of all, of course, we have Amr ibn al-As. He was the man who started to open the countries in northern Africa. He went first for Egypt. As under the Roman Empire, the Egyptian people, they suffered a lot. Consequently, they heard about Islam and that the ruler of the Islam, they are very wise and very good men. Consequently, they asked the help from the Muslims in the Arabian Peninsula to come and get them rid out of the Roman Empire. So Amr ibn al-As, along with the Muslim army, they went to Egypt and they took control of Cairo first and then marched towards Alexandria, and they just banished the Roman armies and the Roman troops away from Egypt. Under them, of course, the Egyptian people thrived and they lived a very good life, even the Egyptian Pope at that time, because at that time Egypt was Christian. So the Egyptian Pope, he was cast away in the desert, so Amr ibn al-As brought him back to the church in Alexandria. From that, the Egyptian people started to live a good life, and Amr ibn al-As sent Tariq ibn Ziyad in order to just open the countries of northern Africa. Tariq ibn Ziyad went from one place to another until he just got all of these countries under the Islamic control. And by that, of course, he moved from one place to another successfully, and he managed to take all of the Berbers or the Amazigh, the Berbers of northern Africa under the Islamic control. So the Muslim Arab, they conquered and occupied the cities of North Africa. By early 700s, they had successfully conquered the Berbers. The Berbers are the people who lived in those areas here. In the Sahara of northern Africa, they are called the Berbers, a largely nomadic northern African people. So who are the Berbers? The Berbers are largely nomadic northern African people. Islam also spread peacefully as over time Muslim trade from North Africa carried Islam to West Africa. Muslim civilization also blossomed in the city as Cairo, Fez, and Marrakesh, which became famous with their mosques and also universities. Second paragraph, Ryan.
Okay. Muslim, Jewish, and Christian traders and merchants lived, bartered, and interacted with one another as commerce expanded throughout North and West Africa. Jewish communities formed near Muslim and Christian enclaves. including those in Ghana, Mali, and later Songhai. Some African societies adopted aspects of the religions into their cultures, while many Africans continued to practice traditional religion such as ancestor worship.
So first we're speaking about how the people from North Africa, whether they are Muslim, Jewish, or even Christian, the traders and the merchant lived together, parted means dealt in money, and interacted with one another. And commerce started to expand throughout Northern Africa and even West Africa. The Jewish community formed near Muslim and Christian enclaves, including those in Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. And even some African societies, they adapted aspects of religion into their own culture. And while many Africans continue to practice their tradition, such as ancestor worship. Of course, in Africa, the way it changed because for the Egyptian people, they were Christians. After Islam came, most of them converted to Islam. For the Northern people, they were barbarian. After Islam came, most of them became Muslim. But the people in here in West Africa and even in Central Africa, some of them converted and some of them still live their own way of life by worshipping their ancestors and even practice the same practices they had. Last paragraph, Islam eventually became the dominant religion in many of the region of Africa. A Muslim caliphate governed many African kingdoms. The caliphates established a centralized system of government and a vast trade network to India and China, which allowed the movement of goods between both regions to flourish. So we can say that one of the most important reasons for flourishment of any civilization is trade. Trade is one of the most important reasons for any civilization to flourish and to become great. Any questions so far, grade 9?
No, thank you.
All right, that's it for today and see you tomorrow. Have a nice day.